Welcome back to On the Rise for Canadians of the Week, breaking down the top three Canadian performances of the previous week. And it was an excellent weekend for Canadians as we saw one Canadian score a game-winning goal and clinch the European football for his side, as well as a Canadian on loan scoring against his parent club and even an incredible Canadian Classique. And we're going to break it all down. We're going to jump straight into my third Canadian of the week, which comes from the Canadian Classique and Toronto FC in the MLS with Theo Corbeanu. As Theo Corbeanu had an incredible performance, and he is my third Canadian of the week, scoring 2 goals off the bench for Toronto FC in a 6-1 drubbing of CF Montreal. And this was an impressive performance from Toronto FC that now sees them lifted off the bottom two in the Eastern Conference, and now they sit in 13th place, leaving Montreal in the dust as CF Montreal now sit on 7 points in dead last. But Toronto FC have now elevated themselves. They have found some form and some consistency of late, on 13 points through 14 games, an abysmal start to the season, but they're now showing a bit more of some form. And this was a great performance from Theo Corbeanu. Only got a few minutes off the bench when the game was already gone and out of hand, but he managed to score in the 66th and the 91st minute for the young Canadian winger, and he is still showing that quality, that talent, that ability, and showing it now with some consistency. And that was the major thing for Theo Corbeanu in European football. There was no consistency in regular games. There was no end product sometimes for Theo Corbeanu, and it popped up here and there. But now with Toronto FC, Theo Corbeanu is truly showing that consistency and that end product more so on a regular basis. And that is what is important for the Canadian winger, which is very exciting for Theo Corbeanu. Because it doesn't matter if he's starting, it doesn't matter if it's a cup competition or in a big game or off the bench. Theo Corbeanu is showing it on a regular basis now, and that is what is important, because this game he started on the bench, but he managed to get 28 minutes, scoring 2 goals and having an 8.6 match rating on FootMob. Scoring 2 goals from 2 shots is a 100% accuracy from Theo Corbeanu, who managed 14 for 15 accurate passes, creating 1 chance throughout the match, and scoring on 0.51 xg. Scoring 2 goals is absolutely incredible, as well as having 20 touches, 3 touches inside the opposition box and 2 passes into the final third. Defensively, 2 defensive actions and 1 recovery. Theo Corbeanu had an incredible game, and he is showing that consistency, that end product, and what truly matters, which is very exciting for Theo Corbeanu, because that is what lacked in European football, and the fact he's bringing that to Toronto FC on or off the bench, and the fact he's doing that in a big game. Yes, the Canadian Classique, when they're both at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, doesn't mean as much when they're at the top of the table or when they're fighting for playoff places. But the Canadian Classique, a rivalry game, is always a big matchup, no matter where you are in the table. And winning this game could have changed this season for one of these sides and get the form, get the momentum going, and it could have just done that for Toronto FC. But Theo Corbeanu turned up in a big game, shown that end product, yes, even though the game was gone, but he still delivered. So which is why Canadian Theo Corbeanu is my third Canadian of the week. And we're going to jump straight to my second Canadian of the week, but this time we're crossing the ocean, and we are going abroad to France in Liga to Ismail Kone, as Ismail Kone was my second Canadian of the week for his Stade de Rennes, who had a very decent performance to say the least, but for Ismail Kone, a very good performance, as he proved his former manager, his parent club, wrong, as he scored an absolute wonder goal, a thunderbolt of a finish from Ismail Kone. It was a banger, scored it from a distance. It was beautiful that he showed his ball striking ability, his shot scoring ability as well, scoring from distance in the 14th minute to give his Stade de Rennes side a 1-0 lead over Olympique Marseille, as they ended up eventually falling to Roberto De Zerbi's side, who got the last laugh in this one, and Derek Cornelius with a 4-2 victory over Stade de Rennes. But Ismail Kone still showed Roberto De Zerbi he has that end product. He can score wonder goals. He can still have a very good performance, and he's shown that here against his parent club, as he played very well. It was an incredible goal and something Canadians absolutely loved seeing. But Stade de Rennes managed to finish the season on 12th place in mid-table. Turned their season around decently after January, where they brought in a few signings, including Ismail Kone. And when Ismail Kone got to play, when he got off the bench, when he started matches, he showed his form for the most part. Having 34 matches, Stade de Rennes scored 51 goals, allowed 50, with a +1 goal differential on 41 points in the Liga season. It was a decent turnout. They turned their season around after January a decent amount, but they still wrap up the season at mid-table, as Ismail Kone had a good performance, scoring a fantastic goal with a 7-match rating, as he committed a foul leading to a penalty for Marseille, which was the downside in this match for Ismail Kone and the true highlight for him outside of that absolute wonder goal. He managed to go 61 minutes starting this match, getting subbed off in the 61st minute, as he scored from his only shot in the match, having 14 for 19 accurate passes, one chance created, conceded that penalty for Stade de Rennes on an XG of 0.02. As well, he had one shot on target, 26 touches, one pass into the final third, and 3 for 4 accurate long balls. Defensively, had 4 defensive actions as well as 1 recovery. Ismail Kone still had a good game. Yes, he gave up a penalty that conceded a goal for Stade de Rennes, but ultimately scored a fantastic goal for Stade de Rennes and helped them finish mid-table in French football. Moving on to my honorable mention of the week, as it was a very good performance back in the MLS for Tani Oluwase, as Tani Oluwase earns my honorable mention of the week, as his Minnesota United side managed a 3-0 victory over St. Louis City, as he scored in the 33rd minute, giving Minnesota United the 1-0 lead early on, and it was then gone from there, as they won 3-0, and Tani managed to score an absolutely incredible goal, and that seems to be the theme of Canadians this week. It was a backheel finish off a corner, as it was a great finish from Tani Oluwase, showing his instincts, showing that he can be in the right place at the right spot, and that is what strikers do best. They are there instinctually at the right place at the right time, and Tani Oluwase has proven that this season and scored a terrific backheel for Minnesota United. But this was an important win for Minnesota United to keep up on the heels in the Western Conference of Vancouver Whitecaps, as Minnesota United now sit in second place on 25 points, 14 matches played, scoring 22 goals and only allowing 13 this season. They're now 3 points behind Vancouver Whitecaps, who has started to slow down a bit but still haven't lost. They consistently pick up points, but Minnesota United are keeping up on the heels of Vancouver Whitecaps thanks to Dane St. Clair and Tani Oluwase, as Tani Oluwase managed an 8.5 match rating, getting a goal and an assist, starting this match and getting 85 minutes this game. He also scored at 100% accuracy, only one shot and one goal, 15 for 17 accurate passes, 2 chances created, as well as a 0.23 xG for the Canadian striker, as he had 31 touches in this match, 3 touches in the opposition box, as well as 1 pass into the final third. Defensively, Tony worked his backside off as a number 9. 5 defensive actions, 1 interception, 2 headed clearances, and 2 clearances, as well as also winning 6 for 9 aerial duels, showing his presence, showing his ability in the air, which is very impressive for Tani Oluwase, as the 25-year-old Canadian striker continues to have a very impressive season this year in the MLS for Minnesota United. But we're going to head back across the ocean, back abroad to La Liga, to Spain, as Tajon Buchanan managed to score the winning goal for Villarreal in a 3-2 victory over the La Liga champions in Barcelona. Something Canadians and players and footballers dream of their entire career. Tajon Buchanan has managed to do that. And this was his very first La Liga goal for Villarreal, becoming the second Canadian in footballing history to do it behind Kyle Larin. This was incredible for Tajon Buchanan. It wasn't a pretty goal. It was an amazing goal, which is something different from what other Canadians did this weekend. But it was a very important goal nonetheless, as this goal from Tajon Buchanan in the 80th minute that won the game for Villarreal managed to give them that final spot and clinch them the Champions League place, as they now are officially in the Champions League, as Tajon, Buchanan, and Villarreal will be in the Champions League next season, as that fifth spot, of course, goes to La Liga, as a Champions League has been officially clinched, as it's been for some time now for Villarreal, as they are on 67 points in fifth place, while Real Betis are in 59 points in sixth place. It is all but over. It is wrapped up. Tajon Buchanan gets Champions League football if he ends up returning to the Yellow Submarines and Villarreal. But he managed to score that winning goal. He managed to get that goal in the 80th minute for Villarreal. Yes, it wasn't a pretty touch. Yes, it wasn't a great finish, but Tajon Buchanan got the ball in the back of the net. And scoring against Barcelona is massive. Yes, it might not have been a pretty goal, but no matter what, this is a goal that is very important, not for Tajon Buchanan, as well as Canadian football. Canadians don't score much in La Liga, which is a clear fact by our record in La Liga, with Kyle Larin being the only one to score there. But being able to score against Barcelona, to score the winner against Barcelona, is something Canadians, something young footballers dream of their entire life growing up playing football, and that is something that probably will inspire young Canadians across the country, especially with that game being available and readily to watch, which is very exciting for Canadians. But the fact Tajon Buchanan comes on, gets the winning goal against Barcelona, makes him my Canadian of the week. Yes, it was an incredible performance. He came on the pitch, off the bench, only getting 26 minutes, scoring one goal from one shot, 100% accuracy as well, 2 for 2 accurate passes, 0.46 xG, 7 touches, as well as 1 touch inside the opposition box and 2 defensive actions. It wasn't an exciting performance off the bench from Tajon Buchanan, but he got the job done. He showed his quality, getting the winning goal against Barcelona, something many footballers will never get to say. It was an incredible weekend for Canadians. You could have had all of them in any different order. Tawny could have been first. He could have been third. He could have been the honorable mention. It was so hard to pick and choose who my Canadian of the week was, but I had to give it to Tajon Buchanan. Let me know your thoughts, comments, and opinions down below, as well as make sure to drop a like, guys. It really helps with the video as well as the channel, and hit that sub button, guys. Let's continue to move to 650 subscribers, because I truly appreciate all the support on the channel, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.